next time. Seriously, it's great to be here. So there's a particular reason for me to be excited about being here as well, is because in 2015, I joined the board of Delegates Abbey as a trustee. So what you see today, and the cafe, and this room, and everything else around it, I've played a part in making this a reality for Northampton, which I'm particularly proud of. So to be able to host an event here is fantastic. And also, we now have a great team here. In fact, Amanda's part of that team here. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining us this morning. And we do, the team do amazing stuff here. So if you've never spent any time in Delegates, so I have to do this bit of advertising. I just have to do it. It's really, really important. So if you haven't been here, if you've been to the cafe, if you've been to some of our events, we had some dinosaurs this year in the gardens there in the park, which was a very successful event. We've got lights coming. Yeah, we've got a light show experience coming up. For Christmas, we've got some great events and so on, and it's brilliant. And if any of you are single and thinking about getting married, what a great venue to get married! So for me, I've been married for 35 years, very happily, so, things like this. But so it's lovely. So thank you for being here. Now, let me position this a little bit for you. I want you to experience what the events are going to be like, because I'd like it to be interactive discussions. I want to get stuck into thinking about the topic I'm going to share with you today. And so it's a kind of a World Cafe type of experience. And the idea of the World Cafe is you've got a picture of paper in the middle, got some pen, and as you've got thoughts coming through, write them down. Write them down, and then I will give you some time to have some discussions about the topic. And we will debate it, and we'll see where we come out. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser around that, okay? So, but firstly, let me tell you a little bit about my organisation and who we are, just to position it a little bit. So, the Redford Partnership is over 10 years old, and we have a very clear purpose. Our purpose is to help leaders to deal with their big issue by building human organisations. I think it was one thing that the pandemic has taught us, is that the human element of organisation has to be at the core of everything. Just making money is just not, it's just not good enough, yeah? Of course we need to make money, we need to make profit, but just to do that, if you have an unhappy workforce, it's not sustainable, people will not stay. But if you can build a great business which is successful, if you then have a culture where people want to be there, they understand why they're there, they feel valued and cared for, then there is no doubt people are going to be looking forward to coming to work. They're going to be helping to build the organisation, they're going to invest more of themselves and so on. So that's what we do. We're very clear also that we have a set of values, studying around courage, curious, passionate, agile and caring. And courage has to be also at the heart of so many of the decisions we make today, because we're in a world where many of us have never experienced the type of speed of change and the complexity of some of the things we have to deal with. Hybrid working, we did a session on that, didn't we? Is it just a label, or is it just part of building a great culture? I think we thought it was a label. But how do we deal with people who don't want to come to work anymore? My sons and his girlfriend have just become digital nomads. So they resign their jobs, but they've got contracts, and they work out of a little camper van traveling Europe. Great, but they're still working, but they're now digital nomads. And they reckon that by 2035 there'll be 1 billion nomads in the world. Why? Because technology has enabled us to be much more agile and flexible. Yeah? So, courage for us is at the heart of all the discussions, and we challenge ourselves. We don't want to just work with any type of organisations. We want to work with leaders who really are looking to make a difference in their organisation for their people with authenticity. We've had a quick discussion, didn't you? And you've worked, you said, with a brilliant company who really cared. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what they did?
Not just that they were an online insurance broker, which doesn't sound very exciting at all. and probably wasn't, but they were a B Corp, so an organisation that's recognised as strapline something like a force for good. So just as you said, proud to be making money, not hiding the fact that they're a profit-making business, but also caring about the community, wanting to make a difference to the community and those around them, as well as the environment, etc. I was lucky to work in the social impact team, and they really, the board, it's like a new bit, really meant it, there was a decent amount of money put towards that part of the business, the well-being, everything, and it was very, very impressive. And then I've gone to a charity where we've got zero money to put towards this sort of thing, so it's how I'm going to try and do that with no budget at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is always a challenge, but the thing is, you do need money sometimes to invest, but you don't always need money to make a difference. And that's the point, really. That's the point about these sessions, is that, often people come to work to, I've never met anyone who came to work to do a bad job. Have you? No, I don't think I've ever met anyone who came to work. Hey, I'm coming to do bad work today. Hey, let's celebrate rubbish. That's not going to work. But people get lost. Yeah, they're lost. So, and often you get great people, they get recognized because they're very skillful in what they do, and then suddenly they get promoted. They give it a card and it says manager. And they get a bit more money. And then suddenly they go home, they celebrate, maybe they increase their mortgage, they do different things, it's good. And then suddenly the people things happen. And then suddenly they haven't got the tools. They don't know how to deal with conflict. They don't understand that, some people have different levels of emotional intelligence. They start to take it personally. They try and they focus on their job. They don't step into their roles. I have a great experience. When I was promoted in my, by a company, actually I wasn't promoted, I was headhunted. You all know who I'm talking about. But, because there's two people who know me quite well, who work in similar industries. But I got to this job and I behaved, I was director of sales. But I continued to behave as a sales manager. Suddenly I had people, but I continued to focus on me and the success of me, not my team. I didn't know any better until I got coaching. Somebody shined a light on me, a mirror, and say, you're not a bad person, but hey, look what's going on. I'm like, ah! That made me realise actually maybe that eventually management wasn't always for me. But anyway, that's also a realisation, isn't it? So what do? Well, we help to develop leaders in what we do, but we don't just develop leaders today. We enrich their lives, because what we say to leaders is we say, you have a choice. You have a choice. And if you understand the choices that you have, and if you can really grow to understand more about the context of your organization, challenge your beliefs in what you do and how organization works, and then shape your behavior to help you win, it is liberating. Liberating in so many levels. Because who says that you have to have an article organization? Why can't you just have a flat organization? Who says that everybody has, a director has to make all the decisions? The decision could be distributed in a different way. Who says you can't have the culture that you want? It's so empowering when suddenly you realize you have so many more options. And who says it's just about the money? It's not just about money. Money and profit is interesting, but we need to be able to have organizations who can contribute to make a contribution towards improving the planet. Our communities and so on. And this is why I'm so proud of what we got here, because we've got a beacon which impact our communities, and that is in our strategy. We help, with mental health issues. We create programs that actually brings people together to have better conversations and enjoy it. We had a board meeting last night, didn't we? And one of the things we talked about is, the challenge that people are facing around, the energy crisis and so on. We want to create events here where people are going to feel that they can go somewhere, and enjoy it, even for a little while. But we want to do it with consideration for what's going on in the community. So we enrich and develop leaders. We grow a highly successful team. Okay, the world today is so complex that it's beyond the realm of any single individual to succeed. If you're on your own and you think you can fix everything, that is not sustainable. It's just too complex. And what we've been doing over the last 10 years is we've been growing highly successful teams. I can tell you a bit more if you sign up to the sessions on that, but we can talk a little bit about that. And then of course after that is creating inclusive culture. What's inclusive culture? Well, I tell you what, I've been doing organizational change and transformation now for probably about 18 years. And the only ones that have ever worked are the ones that have been co-created internally with everyone in the organization. In fact, I was with a big education organization yesterday. They have thousands of students, they have thousands of staff, and they've been struggling to embed their strategy. So when I asked a very simple question, how did you design your strategy? Guess what they said? In a room, 4 people. And then they're surprised that no one's on board. That sounds familiar.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. And they said, we're struggling. No, nobody cares. No, they do care, but they probably don't understand. I mean, honestly, co-creation takes a bit longer. Yeah, of course it does. Because you've got to have the process of getting people to ask questions. Questions. But yeah, and actually, honestly, I've done change program for Bupa, the Daniel Price for retail and so on. This is some of our clients that we've worked with. It's a pretty impressive list, look at that. It's like, great, it's a brilliant client. But, genuinely, here we transform an organization who was an insurance company, okay, who was actually dying on its feet, to an organization now who help people live longer, healthier, happier lives. And live through it. If you look at the story of Bupa today, and the awards that they are winning, and so on and so forth, it's extraordinary. But it starts with managers who then go on to be great leaders as well. It starts with every single one of you in this room today. Because if not you in management, then who? There's no one else. You can have a great brand. I aspired to work for one of my competitors one time. I got there. I got to the people I wanted to work with. Oh my goodness me, I left within a year. It was terrible, the culture was so bad. And at the end of the day though, people don't need organization, they need poor managers. Okay, we have to remember that. Just a little bit about me, a bit boring really. Well, that cheesy face, I'm like, oh my god, that is terrible. I'm trying really so hard to lose weight right now. I have a gift for you today. So the best contributors will receive, I've got 2 copies of the book that we've written. Okay, so we've got this book which is doing really, really well. I suppose, as you can tell from my accent, for those who don't know me, I've done an engineering study, design study in Paris. In the end, it wasn't for me, but when I came to the UK, really I got passionate and spent a lot of time in sales, which really was the only thing I could do at that time. But it taught me so many good lessons about meeting so many different people, and started to understand that people have different needs. They have, everybody around us, we're all the same, but we're all different. And we all have what we call different preferences as well. Why is it some of us really require lots of details before we can make a decision? Or why is it that actually some people don't want any detail, they just set off? And then a bit later they go, oh, I forgot the bag. to go back. So in the discussions I'm hoping to have with you as we go through this series of events, we will be exploring some of that. We'll be exploring and understanding what world-class management is about. So, we won some, we won some awards. In fact, recently won lots of awards for Suzuki. Best in Milton Keynes. We've done a lot of work with them where we transformed their organisation, we wrote their values. They've got the highest performing divisions now in the UK. They are, really outperforming on their competitors. It's extraordinary, and they don't have any products because no one has any products to sell at the moment because of the shortage of. And we work with charities as well. So we have a not-for-profit side of our business called the Fellowship, where we give 12 people every year the opportunity to receive free development on the basis that it's 8 days of development in the year. And if they're accepted, though, the only thing we ask in return is that they invest their time during that year to help the local charity become sustainable for the long term. So up to date, we've developed 80 fellows, we've raised about £75,000, and we've held 35 charities, and we've had people coming from about 40 organisations. So it's very, very exciting. And we've got one more level for that. So, here we go, your first exercise. Okay? Culture, it's strategy for breakfast. What the hell does that mean? We got breakfast, okay, so that's good, we got that one. I'd like you to spend some time, okay, let's just take some time to talk about it. When this statement, when you've seen this statement, what does that tell you? How do you feel about that? What does a statement conjure up in your mind? Culture, it's strategy for breakfast. Because I can tell you, I have been in some organisation and does a presentation and go, well, that's a lot of rubbish, isn't it? I don't understand what that means at all. Culture, it's strategy. I don't get it. Strategies is important. It's everything. Okay? So, spend a few minutes, write your thoughts on a big piece of paper. That's what it's for. Yeah? Okay? And then we'll get some ideas. Go on. I'm going to get coffee. Let's reconnect. Cool. So, firstly, does anyone think that culture is strategy for breakfast is a load of rubbish? And it means that. Is there anybody in this room who think, I don't believe in this, Freddie? No? Good. Well, good. We've got like-minded people in the room, that's right. So, how did you get on? Who wants to start to feedback? Tell me what you talked about. Anyone? You!
Oh,
There you are.
always the person.
Are you okay with your son, by the way?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, good.
So I love this statement. It's very topical for us at the moment. So, for me, it's really important that you mentioned earlier about a boardroom. Everyone getting a boardroom, writing down an amazing strategy. You can have an amazing strategy, but if you give it to an organisation where they're not culturally prepared or ready or engaged to deliver that strategy, you might as well not read it because it's going to go nowhere. It's going to stay on that page. It's not actually going to deliver. We kind of, our conversation geared towards what's normally the strategies? If it's a good strategy, the why. Normally the what, not the how. And we said, if you're not enabling the organisation through the culture to have their voices heard, to know how to operate, know how to bring that strategy to life through what they're doing, it's just not going to happen. So the culture, you will literally put that strategy there and it'll gobble it up. It will go nowhere because you've not created the culture to deliver it.
So what I'm hearing is you're basically saying your people are not in the right space, and therefore they're not in a space where they're going to be listening. They might hear what you say, but they're not listening. And it's two different things, isn't it? I hear what you're saying, but actually it's not going to be. I'm going to focus on what I'm.
We talk quite a lot about the fact that the decision, because it's made within such a small community, the board of directors, that it almost eradicates that thinking within the management teams because they're so used to being told all the time, this is what you're going to do, and there's very little sort of feeding back up to say, well, actually that's not what the customer needs or that's not going to be possible. So it's very, for us anyway, very top-down driven, but it stops people's ability to think creatively, to think about how they deliver the why. That's certainly one of the areas we
Cool.
talk about.
We'll come back to some of these things in a minute because I want to hear from the other group, but in particular, why it's happening. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So, anyone else? What did you guys talk about?
We very much focus on the culture side. So,
Okay.
And we decided the culture is a human part of the organisation. It's become much more critical over the pandemic, and that culture informs the strategy, and it's essential to the implementation of the strategy. And then culture creates a passion within the workforce, and it's if you've got a culture that's working well within an organisation, it's the way they do things around here, isn't it? It's that this is the culture, this is just what we do, and then hopefully the organisation works well. It informs the employer brand, so it aids recruitment and retention.
Okay. You said something interesting here for me, which you said culture informs the strategy. Does It's like a chicken and egg thing. What can you do if you ain't got a chicken? But so I want to explore that. I mean, you've explained a little bit what you think culture informs the strategy, but isn't it true that most organisations start with the strategy first before they do the culture? So can that work? Surely you need a plan first, don't you? Surely you need to know where you're going. You need a strategy, and then you can work on the culture, no?
But the culture within the organisation, depending how it's been planned, and we talked about people as an example,
Yeah.
and that they changed their culture, but the culture they had originally brought certain sort of people into the organisation, and then informs, if it's a good culture, it then informs what the strategy should be going forward. They are very interlinked, and I know you change it with people, but actually the new culture that you have got in place, then informs the strategy that they have.
So hold that thought, because it's really interesting as well. I want to explore that a little bit more. I've got a plan here. I've got a kind of plan to see what needs to come first, and how do we get to it. What about you guys? What did you talk about?
I think we're very much along the same lines, really. It's difficult in last class.
But yeah, just really the culture is the vehicle for implementing the strategy, and that they very much intertwined, but can't exist separately. Because I just thought about culture and thought, yeah, I'll go, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I didn't think too much about it, if I'm honest,
Yeah.
as an advert for what to go to someday. I just thought, yeah, that sounds like a nice sort of thing. I'll go to that.
And often you go, oh, culture, that's great! Yeah, that's somebody else's problem. You know what I mean? Strategy is somebody else's problem, isn't it? Because sometimes you're like, oh, a strategy, isn't that like a big document and, you know, something like this?
But it means a lot, and I understand the importance of it, but I recognise the importance of it, whereas I think still lots of organisations don't. So I think maybe this is an example of, maybe it's still very new for some people. They see it as a probably a buzzword, or maybe talking about this thing, and other people think it's still way away from it. Don't consider it as a mix.
What about if I told you that the strategy in Bupa that we advertised, talked about internally, was literally 3 pages.
Good strategy. It should be that short.
What about if I told you that wherever you walked, in each department, there were on the walls those 3 documents. They were listed 3 documents. That's all. And part of those documents, we also had the values, and we had the behaviours, what we call the winning behaviours descriptors. But what do you think enabled all of this to happen, actually? Well, the enabler here, but what do you think? Let me rephrase this then, because it's a good question. What happened to enable the strategy and the culture to come together? Because they have to come together. Because actually, there may be that you have the right culture today to lead you to where you are. So, the reality of any organization is what you do every single day leads you to your success. True? Yeah? So that means that if you have ambitions to either grow, diversify, do something different, you're going to have to do something different, don't you? Yes? Because the behaviors that you've used up to date are going to give you mostly the result where you got today. Now, some of it's going to help you grow because the market conditions may influence certain element. But generally, you're going to be there or thereabout. Okay? So what has to happen to enable strategy and culture to align? Come on, you know this.
Communication.
Communication is an enabler. Before that, pardon?
Consultation.
Consultation, that's an enabler. It's something that you do. What happens first? What's going to bring you to work? Feel excited?
Engagement.
That's an outcome. Engagement is you feel engaged.
We just throw words in out.
You know, what's our purpose?
Mission.
Mission. But, as you said it, the word
Purpose.
do you know what your purpose is? Do you know what you exist to do? Clearly. Does that bring people together? So when we did some work with Nestle, so Nestle Purina in particular is a highly successful organization. Very successful. They deliver lots and lots of results, but their employee surveys at the time of working with them were quite low. What's going on? Why, despite all the success, people were feeling a little bit low? And ultimately, when we did the work and tried to understand, is Purina wanted to become the world's most trusted pet care business. But organizations in food and so on, it's tight margins, it's a lot of things going on, it's highly pressurized, it's consumers and so on. But when we did the work with Purina, there's so many things they did fantastically. I mean, absolutely, they have brilliant processes. They knew their businesses. They had great minds working together-ish. That was the thing. But it was very, very process-driven. Very process-driven. It's a tough business. And one of the things we did was we started to collect the narratives of their ambition, what they wanted to become. And we came across, through all lots of discussion, what we believe was the organizational purpose, which we then engage everybody around. And do you know what we talk about now at Purina? What do we exist to do? We exist to do, not just to make pet food, cats and dog foods. We exist because we believe pets and people are better together. Isn't that brilliant? So everything that we do is about the health of the pet, making them healthier, live longer, because we've got all the data that shows that if we do that, it will transform lives. Pets, they go and see cancer and all sorts of illness now. If you introduce cats and dogs in old people's home, well, you're here, because you work in care homes, don't you? If you introduce animals in pets and dogs in old people's home, they live longer, because it gives more. Okay? So you can see the purpose. So the big question is, yes, culture will eat strategy for breakfast any day, and you are absolutely 100% right. If you don't have the right culture to start with, you're not going to get the people to listen. They're going to come, do their work, and they'll go, this is already hard. You asked me to think about this? Nah, sorry. Because maybe there is low trust in the organization. Maybe people talk the talk, but they don't walk the talk, and that's a bit different. Maybe they send conflicting messages. Maybe they say something, but what you experience every single day on the shop floor or on the floor is different behaviours. Well, hang on a second, we thought we were going to do this, and I've just seen you do that. How does that tally? I belong to Engage for Success for many, many years. I was part of the government task force who helped the government to understand what employee engagement is all about. And we talked about the 4 enablers of engagement. And one of the enablers of engagement is integrity. If there is a gap between what people say and do, then you're not going to be taken seriously. Because nobody will want to step forward, nobody will want to step forward and take a risk. Why would you? Because much to do. I mean, look at, some of the people should have been here, they've got too much to do. We all have too much to do. So, purpose. Do you have a clear purpose? Are you clear why do people come to work to do? Pupa, we help people live longer, happier lives. Brilliant. Purina, we do what we do because we believe people and pets are better together. Brilliant. Red Thread Partnership, we help leaders in organizations deal with their big issue by building human organization. Fantastic. I know what I do every day. It's simple. And it then informs the strategy. Then it tells me what I need to do and not to do. And then I can then engage the team as well to test that. Is that what we do? How does that feel? When people come and ask us for certain type of work, we'll go, does this align to our purpose? No, we don't do training. We do development. That's very different things. So you see the thing. How does that sound? Does that make sense when you think I'm looking rubbish? So does any of you have a purpose? Do you have a purpose? It's a statement. Yeah, do you have one in a charity?
I'm desperately trying to remember it. So I did it when I was reading back to the team about it. We've got a mission statement and I've reworded it and made it much shorter and made it more purpose and read it out, and the difference was quite stark. You know, I was trying to do it as a piece of engagement, trying to recruit people, and I had a 2 seconds, which I've got it with me because it just sounded so much snappier and more, you know, pulling people in more.
Yes,
Rather
but that's
than
the thing.
long-winded mission statement.
And defining a purpose is not, you know, it's not easy. I mean, you know, we've been helping a brand called Genesis in the UK. It's a luxury car brand to, you know, it's a part of the Hyundai Corporation, and we've been helping that brand to set in the UK in terms of luxury. They also have a purpose. I can't reveal it at the moment because it's still a new organisation, so internally we're working through that, but they're defining it. And it's about making a difference, because we know how important that is. So just think about that, okay? Just think about what it is. Now, I want to talk just very quickly about this, because this is the kind of the model I'm going to be using for these sessions, you know, in terms of World Cafe sessions. I think it's really interesting. So the idea is that we'll set the context and we'll create the space where we can have lots of great conversation. Excuse me. And then we'll explore some questions. What does that mean? You know, we'll deep dive into the topics, and I'll go and explain what the topics are going to be. And then we want to hear from everyone. You know, this is your opportunity to, you know, share maybe some of the things that are going on in the organisation. We'll work together to make sure that what we talk about in here stays in here, even if this session is going to be filmed and then, you know, edited. So I think we'll put in that. Encourage contribution. Connect the diverse perspectives. The thing about culture is that there are some similarities, but each organisation is different. And the reason it's different is because it also is going to be really influenced by who is leading the organisation. Who are the people at the top? Because ultimately it starts with the leaders, but at the end, to build great businesses, it is not about the leaders. Does that make sense? Start with you, but ultimately it's not about you as leaders. Listen to one side, share collective discoveries, and then learn from each other in the way we want to do it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Purpose. It's purpose and how we define it, and it's culture and purpose are hard to define. But I worked with OU Cinemas, and they changed their purpose.
Yeah.
They used to say, our purpose is about redefining cinema, but that didn't resonate with the employees selling popcorn when you go into the cinema at the ground level. So it made it much longer, and I wanted to know if you think shorter or longer is better, or if it's more important that it's overall, or if it affects the employees across the business.
So you were voting?
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah, okay. How does the purpose make you feel when you
So,
see it?
I remembered redefining cinema, because it's 2 words,
Yeah.
but it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I made it much longer and it was harder to remember. I do remember it. It's something like creating inspiring entertainment experiences for every guest. So it was long,
Yeah.
lots of in-words in it,
Yeah.
but it meant more to me.
Yes.
So I felt like the longer was better
Yeah.
because it meant more. It was harder to remember. Does it matter
No.
when it's long? Okay.
Why does it matter? Because ultimately, it's not, you know, it is about the intent behind it. Yeah? So if you think about it, that's quite long. We help people live longer, healthier, happier lives.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we're not an insurance or organisation. Ultimately, what we want to know is we want to help people manage their conditions better. Because what happened at Bupa at the time is that the only people who connected with Bupa were the older generation, who were actually their members, and they contacted them because they were poorly. They had no relationship with them. Whereas when Bupa then proactively talked to their member and say, by the way, if you've been diagnosed with diabetes, there's so many things that we can do for you. You know, you can go on this particular website, we can help you manage your condition better. They're less likely to claim. You're going to build loyalty and everything, okay? So what's interesting behind the guest experience? So I did a lot of work with Lexus in the UK. And Lexus talked about treating their customers like a guest in their own homes, okay? But everything we do in the development of the strategy is we've got people to play with that. What does that mean? So we created a kind of a guest experience or sales experience where we started by contact to contract. That is, what happens when you're making contact with a potential buyer, okay, and you lead them on the journey to contract. Because what we identified is that at that point, the salesperson is very excited because they're going to get a sale. But then we had the contract to hand over. So the person that spent £100,000 on this Lexus, now they're excited, but then they have to wait 6 months for the product. And guess what? The salesman's disappear, or the salesperson's disappear, because they've done the deal. So we identified a big gap there as well. Okay? So how do you deliver that experience? So what would be interesting for me is, how do you deliver that experience at every touch point? How do you recognize people who are delivering that? What are the values that underpin that? And actually, that then forms the strategy, the culture, the guest experience, and what you exist. So I wouldn't worry about the lens, but it's what do people talk about in an organisation? Is it true? Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is it true as well? I've been thinking about, as we've been talking, trying to link in the culture of an organisation can also make it appealing to consumers to buy products. So if you talk about the culture, Kerry mentioned obviously about the culture of the business she worked in, but if you look at the public perception of a culture of, say, organisations like, you think about kind of Christmas, like John Lewis's or Marks and Spencer's, everybody knows that the culture they have is a professional one, is one that's viewed in a very positive fashion. So the culture can equally attract customers to buy the product.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And we know, I mean, remember Ratner's, the jewellers, and then how the chief executive completely killed the business because he just went, we sell tat. Now, can you imagine that you're an employee there and you feel proud you're in your shop and you don't think you're selling tat, you're selling, quality jewellery at a cost-effective price, and then your CEO is completely undermined there. Can you imagine how you're going to feel? You don't want to be there. Now, it's the same issues that Ryanair has had. Ryanair were just basically saying, oh, do you want to fly cheap? Okay, well, we're going to treat you like that. That's the price of cheapness. And that's rubbish. Absolute rubbish, because Northwest Airlines in the US, who is a low-cost airline, has a fantastic culture. Because it's not about the cost, it's about the experience. But what you do is you manage that internally. And it's the people who manage that internally because they want to be there. Because it doesn't matter, because they don't see it as selling cheap, they're seeing actually representing a brand that is actually enabling probably more people to fly and travel who otherwise wouldn't be able to go anywhere. I mean, what a great enabler.
Wasn't there an arrogance though with Ryanair, because he,
yes.
although he said that, he knew that people would continue to fly with him because he was cheaper, wasn't he?
But it didn't work, did it? Because there was a dip in sales, and then there was a big issue with all the shareholders and everything, and he had to transform. Because actually you felt you were being, if you think about the customer experience, I mean, I remember flying to Ryanair, the only option I had to go and see my parents afterwards. I'd arrived, I'd arrived at the airport. From the moment I went through security, Ryanair people went every single stage. Can I measure your case? Yes. So, oh God, I've got the wrong case. So now I feel anxious, put a case in there, carry on there. Would you like to buy some food? And I've got a lottery ticket. I was like, oh God, I just want to fly, goodness me. See what I mean? Yeah? So, yes, fine, if that's what you are about, but be clear, define it, don't cheapen it, but then you've got to get the kind of customer, you've got to try the right sort of customer. It's like I always say, as managers and as leaders, we get the team we deserve. Period. That's what we do. Right, let's move on. Second exercise. So, what is a world-class manager? What does that mean? I mean, it's a bit ambitious, isn't it? Being world-class manager. How does that mean? Go on, 2 minutes, 5 minutes on this. Let's try to use a different colour pen. And we'll collect all these. So, world-class management. Go on. Let's hear it.
Inspirational.
Inspirational. Is that it?
Oh, which one more?
Yeah.
Not just words. Just words. Approachable.
Approachable.
Adaptable.
Adaptable.
Empathetic.
Yeah.
Credible.
Right.
We're going to bingo. We had some of the similar words, but we had authentic, consistent, collaborative, trust, influence, caring, someone that's able to value their individuals, supportive, personal, and then we talked a little bit around just recognising your strengths and then the strengths of your team. So as a manager, you might not be perfect in everything, but if you've got the right team around you, just being able to recognise that.
Okay, cool, thank you. What about you?
Quite similar ones actually.
Yeah? No?
Someone who sort of leads by example.
Leads by example.
Somebody who's fair, because
Yeah.
it's easy to show some favouritism.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Yeah.
flexible. Yeah. Somebody who allows you to get on with your work without sort of. And we
Okay.
actually, one of the things we talked about with our colleague who left was that in retentions was reasons to stay, that they're able to keep their staff, which we actually say is a manager who cares about their culture.
I'm not sure.
Actually wants to keep to it and deliver it, because that will retain the staff.
Okay. So it's interesting. I mean, I'm going to pick up on some words. So here you've got approachable, adaptable, empathy, credibility. Credibility. How do we get credibility? How do we get credibility? How do we become credible?
By delivering what you say you're going to deliver.
By delivering what we say we're going to deliver. Yeah. Okay. So is that behavioural or is that more about skills?
It's more behavioural, because if you're over-promising, you should recognise those are some strengths and weaknesses. You should recognise your own skill set and not egg yourself necessarily. So, you know, being that credible piece of actually, I'm not going to do that because that's not my strength. So again, it's about that delivery. You can't do it, so you can't do it. I don't think anyone's expecting you. Yes.
I think this is really important for the session to come around, because I think this is both. Okay? Because did you know that the majority of us suffer from imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Why do we suffer from imposter syndrome?
Because we think we need to be everything.
Because
We need to be everything.
we think we need to be everything. We think that we need to have all the answers. Okay? But also, how many of you in this room have truly had management development? How many have been on management development courses? Yeah? Okay, so you got more skills. Yeah? You probably learned how to do, how to have performance conversation. Maybe how to manage conflict. Have you ever been told how to make great decisions? Yeah? Most people don't know how to make great decisions. So we get into a space where we've learned by being on the job, we've learned by role model around us, maybe we've been in great meetings and we've assimilated something. Thing is, leadership, management, is a job. So what makes a great manager? Not necessarily someone who's a great person. A great person will become affable. A great person will be somebody that maybe you don't trust, have the ability to, treat the individual. But we're all different. So somebody for me who recognizes me, makes me feel good, values my work, encourages me to grow, encourages me to take risks. If I make a mistake, doesn't, say, oh, let's do this mistake, doesn't go down on me, but helps me as a person, because that's who I am. I have a feeling preferences, I'm an extrovert, I like to go through things, that's going to be important to me. But somebody who is more detailed, more introverted, may have a different requirement. And if I use the same behaviour that I have when, I am working with Catherine, I'm working with Michelle, and they're totally different people, with one of them that's going to work, but the other one's going to go, my boss is so fluffy. Honestly, they don't know what they're doing. There's no plan, they're lovely, oh God, they're lovely. What are they doing? I don't know what I'm doing. They need to tell me. Leadership is a job. Now the thing is what we found is that you can teach the traits and behaviour of becoming a world-class manager. So all the things you've identified are correct, but a lot of them are behavioural. Behaviour will take you that far. Behaviour and skills will take you further. Because what we'll do is we talked about being competent, being sincere, caring, and these are some of the traits that build trust. Trust has to be at the heart of becoming a world-class manager. Now, in this session, what we will do is we will show a 15 minutes video from the world-class manager team. So this is Wayne, who's one of our partners who build the world-class. Wayne used to work for best companies, and over many, many years, they collected lots and lots of data about what makes someone a world-class manager. Let's hear what he has to say in particular. Just 3 minutes.
Based on the essential traits of the world-class managers we've seen in action. They behave like world-class CEOs, they create highly engaged teams, and they focus on the customer. They create value. They're dedicated to creating value for the organisation and act as if it was truly their own organisation. They care deeply. They demonstrate genuine care for people by spending time and listening really well. They have a sense of purpose and are focused on delivering. They don't accept mediocrity and will challenge in a supportive way to get the best from people. They focus to get the operation to just work really well for the benefit of the customer or the end user. They're self-aware and they want to improve themselves. They get clear on the team's purpose and help everyone to work out what it means to them. They make sure that people are clear on what's expected of them, as nothing is more frustrating than not knowing what it takes to win. They measure the stuff that matters and don't bother with the stuff that doesn't. And you know in your heart of hearts what matters. A world-class manager acts as the bridge between the leadership team, what the shareholder wants, and those on the front line of what they need. They focus on building really strong relationships, built on trust and on delivering on what we say we're going to do. Integrity, interestingly, is the most commonly used organisational value. They bring a sense of fun and enjoyment to what we do, that we spend most of our times and our lives at work, and we know that world-class managers know how to energise their teams. They take time to really understand what the customer wants. The greatest ones are even able to accurately predict what they might want next. They communicate really well. Sounds so basic, but it's the biggest cause of frustration internally in organisations and externally. They make sure their teams are aligned and clear about what their role is. They share customer feedback, good and bad, with their team really fast, helping the team to be really agile and reacting to what the customer wants. And they bend the operation of the business to make sure it's really delivering for its customers. Again, this is about ownership and really thinking like a CEO. So let's get really practical here. There are 7 key things that we think will set you well on your way to being a truly 21st century manager.
And this is where you have to come back to this section. Because I'm not going to tell you now. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I'm going to kind of wrap up now because I'm conscious of time as well. And we did say we would finish the sessions at 11 anyway. So we are on time. But if you were a high-performing athlete, you wouldn't turn up, to compete without practicing, would you? So what would you turn up to work without growing your skills? True. Well, yeah, but that's the management's responsibility. No, you also have your own responsibility. Because actually, growing ourselves is such a gift. Because then you acquire transferable skills. It doesn't matter where you are. You can make a difference. Okay? And that's the thing. I know my purpose. I know that, principally, I am better doing this stuff than I am actually better running my own organisation. So I recognise that because I'm not a very patient person. However, I love and I truly believe in this because I've been around a bit. I've been in lots of different cultures of organisation. And I understand. But I understand that, honestly, some of the leaders I've worked with, okay, and some of the big leaders we've done some really great work with, they're not bad people. But they're very, very focused on making their organisation commercially successful. And the moment they suddenly realise the bit about the people, honestly, it is transformational. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to have all the skills and suddenly they've been, spending time with me and they're going to become completely different people. No, of course not. But what they're choosing to do is to dial up different part of their toolkit when they are talking to their people. But they're doing it with authenticity because when we build a high-performing team, when we change culture, We want to work with people who truly want to do this. Because if you're not sincere, people are going to see through. They really are. But it doesn't mean that the people that are at the top are not capable of changing. Okay? So, in the sessions, and the world-class knowledge sessions, what we will be doing is exploring a number of the tools. So the program really has 12 modules, but we are focusing on 3 of the modules, and Catherine will tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But the whole of the, well, we've got 2 programs. We've got World Class Manager 1 and the World Class Manager 2 program, okay? And these are module-based. So this was a little bit, we just said about the 21st Century Management program here. And then, as you can see, so these have been identified as topics that are, within the first program, we will be, spending time exploring and understanding, okay? But we are focusing to start with on optimizing your time, okay? The final frontier, time. Yeah, none of us are going to time. Well, actually, that's not true. That's also something which is not true. We all got time. We just choose to spend, in a particular way. Creating a standout team and understanding our customers. This will be the first kind of